When the reporter who's supposed to hold a politician accountable secretly starts dating him, that's not just a bad look. It's how access journalism turns into fanfic with press credentials and leaves the rest of us in the dark.
So, who are we canceling today?
Oh, we're canceling Olivia Nuzzi.
Again?
Yes, the story continues, Kate.
Didn't we do this last year?
We did, but now Newsy has crossed every basic line of newsroom ethics. And we are also canceling her ex-fiancé Ryan Lizza for responding with revenge-porny essays about her. And moreover, an industry that keeps confusing sleeping with the source for getting the story.
All right, here we go again. Hey everyone, I'm Caitlin Burns.
And I'm Christine Grimaldi.
And you're listening to Cancel Me Daddy,
the show where we take a closer look at all the panic around cancel culture
with thoughtful analysis
and verbal shitposting. Joining us today on the show is Marisa Kabas. She's an independent journalist and creator of The Handbasket, a wonderful news site. Welcome to the show, Marisa.
Thanks for having me. I hope I'm not the one being canceled. I hope that's not why you brought me here.
Oh no, our plan is foiled.
I figured it out real quick.
Can you imagine like an Isaac Chutner podcast where he just secretly brings people on to get canceled?
It's like To Catch a Predator meets like something.
No, we're actually here to talk about, unfortunately, Olivia Nuzzi.
Again.
Who's back. Again, I thought we were done with her last year. We are not. And God, I tried so hard to avoid doing a second episode on this, but they keep throwing themselves at everybody's attention. But you wrote a fantastic essay over at The Handbasket about all of this that I really loved. But are those of our listeners who maybe aren't up on the minutia of this? Because I do think this is like an inside baseball media story. But for those who are not like media sickos like the rest of us, can you give us like a TLDR of the more recent developments that we've had with Newsy?
Yes. So let's see. There's so many different tentacles to this beast.
She wrote a book.
She wrote a book.
She wrote a book.
Yeah. So just to go back for a second to last year, there was a scandal that broke that she had some sort of intimate relationship with Robert F. Kennedy Jr., our current Secretary of Health and Human Services and all-around psycho. And she revealed a couple months ago that she had a book coming out about the whole ordeal. And that book is coming out, I think, next week, I want to say. Maybe this week, soon, imminently. And so she started doing some press in preparation for the book launch. And then as retaliation, her ex-fiancé, Ryan Lizza, who's also a journalist, started publishing his own serialized blog posts, saga, whatever you would call it, on his Substack, detailing other indiscretions that she supposedly had with sources and other politicians. And so it's just created this complete mess of like ethics in journalism and who is telling the truth. It's a bad look for everyone involved and makes a lot of people look really gross.
Yeah, and she also got like a job, right, at Vanity Fair.
Right. Yeah, she got hired as the West Coast editor for Vanity Fair earlier this year, much to everyone's surprise, given that it was already public what had happened last year with when she was working at New York Magazine. And then there are a bunch of ethical things within there, like she's, really good friends with the editor-in-chief of Vanity Fair's boyfriend. And so it's just like this very tangled web of like kind of elite access journalists kind of thinking that they can do whatever they want without impunity. And they're kind of finding out that they have to answer for some of the stuff that they've done.
And meanwhile, this came at a time when Vanity Fair laid off some of their best writers.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, generally in journalism, it's a really dark time and amazing ethical writers are getting laid off left and right and struggling to make a living. And then I think that's what makes this particularly galling is that Newsy and Liza and people in their orbit are somehow continuing to hustle and squeeze money out of magazines at a time when there's not that much money to squeeze. And the stuff that they're doing is what's being rewarded. And it's just so unfair and just, bad look for the profession. It does not make me proud to be a journalist.
I don't usually say this, but by the time I read part 3 of the serialized, really starting to feel like very revenge porny issues that Liza keeps putting out, I was kind of proud to subvert the paywall, which I would never do for any other journalist.
Yeah, it's created a really weird, like, black market for blog posts.
Yeah. Everybody's kind of like, every time one of them drops, everybody is just waiting around for somebody to bite the bullet for the subscription and then post it for everybody else.
Mhm.
Yeah, and it's like, I think the people who have posted it around the paywall have gotten either kicked off Blue Sky or have gotten like cease and desist letters. Like there has been some action, but I don't know. I guess it didn't hurt him too badly because I think one of the rags reported last night that his Substack posts have gotten like 745,000 views or something. So people are paying for that.
I mean, that's good for Substack, but that's not like mind-blowing numbers. Like I've written articles that have gotten 1 million views that were like way less of a big deal than that.
That's true. And I don't know if that was just for one of them or for cumulatively all three of them. So maybe subverting the paywall was some sort of act of resistance.
Also, I wonder how many of them were just the first part one, because I did read part one. It was free. And I read part one on his blog.
It was free for a while and then he put up the paywall.
Did he put up on the paywall? There's so much that I want to go with here. Let's do like a quick like recap of some of the revelations that he's made, that Liza has made in these blog posts. The first one I thought was kind of an atom bomb because this is the one where he reveals that at least he believed that there was an affair happening with former presidential candidate Mark Sanford.
I mean, side note, I didn't even know he ran for president.
Totally forgot
It was in
about
2020. He was like challenging Trump and it lasted 5 minutes. But I heard the name Mark Sanford and I immediately thought of the Argentina affair.
Yeah, he already has a long history of scandal.
Yeah.
So he's just being pulled back into scandal. And it's overlapping scandals now. Yeah, what was it? He disappeared from the campaign trail for...
No, he was governor of South Carolina and nobody could find him for
he
several
just
days.
hiking the Appalachian Trail.
Right, he said he was hiking the Appalachian Trail, but he was actually in Argentina with his mistress.
Yes.
Who among us?
I mean, who hasn't fled to Argentina? Oh, wait, I shouldn't go down that road.
Oh, world history.
Yeah. You know who else fled to Argentina?
Why do these guys keep going to Argentina? Anyway, moving on.
But yeah, Liza told the story in the first post and had you believing that it was about Newsy and RFK Jr. because that's the one that we had known about. And then at the end, it's like plot twist. I'm actually talking about a different presidential candidate, no matter how short-lived that run was. And that just added another layer to the mess.
Yeah. Part 2 was about RFK Jr., I believe, so like the start of it. And I had a bit planned for this episode because I read that and I didn't know what felching means.
Oh, God.
I unfortunately Googled it immediately.
There was a lot of felch shaming going on online. Like, oh, you don't know what felching is? I'm like, no, I'm sorry.
So live here on this recording, I am going to learn what felching means.
Sorry, Mom and Dad.
And you can all see the reaction. Okay. Oh, my dear God. I can't read this. This is against YouTube TOS. Felching is the sexual act of consuming sexual discharge from another person's backside.
Wow, your euphemisms are on point.
I usually have a stomach for this stuff, and even I am shocked.
I think the fact that RFK Jr. is involved makes it worse.
Ooh,
like, it's not that that's, I mean, on its face, whatever, people do whatever you want to do, but like thinking about RFK Jr. specifically involved there is just like the whale juice of it all.
Okay.
Or the dead bear? Was it a bear?
Yeah, there was a dead bear and a dead whale. The dead bear was the one he left in Central Park. And that was in other revelations that Liza revealed that Newsy knew about that story and tried to kill it, much like RFK Jr. killed the bear.
Then we got to part 3.
Yeah, and I'm less and less interested in like the titillating details. Like now that I know what felching is, I can put that part of my mind in a secret vault that never gets opened again. But he is revealing very serious accusations of journalistic impropriety here. And I should note we're recording this after part 3 has dropped. There is a part 4 and more coming, but we obviously don't have that at the moment. And there's a chance that it could all come out before this episode gets released, which would be really sad for me, actually, if that
It was
happens.
supposed to drop last night, supposedly. Like, that's
Was
where we're
it?
at, where we're like anticipating drops of this stuff. And
I hate this
I
so
think
much.
Semaphore
It's
reported that it
terrible.
was being dropped, and then I don't know what happened.
It reminds me of like the R. Kelly anthology thing that he had, Trapped in the Closet, where he keeps like dropping parts. Like after 4 or 5, people stopped paying attention to it. Like it wasn't a big deal after that. I'm kind of hoping that's what happens to this story.
Well, the kind of revelation at the end of part 3, did you have the same takeaway? He sort of insinuated that Trump didn't get shot and that Olivia knew about it.
I thought, he was insinuating that it was staged, or that
Right.
she knew something about like the true nature of what happened in Butler, Pennsylvania.
I found myself, I mean, if she did that, that's a grave beyond anything that's handing him the election, but that's also handing him the election if Liza sat on it for a year. Like, why would you sit on that? We really don't know how or where these allegations are based off of.
Yeah, I would say that Liz is not a trustworthy narrator in this situation either. And like Caitlin mentioned earlier, I think Newsy's getting a lot of the smoke, but Liza looks just as bad and just in different ways. And he is talking about the story as if he is not part of the problem he's describing, which is just so, I mean, I don't know how you pride yourself on being a cultural observer and then completely remove yourself from the situation. I think he looks awful, and the more he publishes, the worse he looks.
I believe you skeeted back at him to try to find Jesus.
It's always really humbling when my Blue Sky poster read back to me.
It was beautiful. I don't
mean,
often advocate that, but I think he could use Jesus.
Yeah, like I'm Jewish. I don't know anything about finding Jesus, but like I think it could help him. It couldn't hurt at this point.
I wanted to talk about the age gap situation. And there's several of them, I think, at play here. There was the revelation also that when Newsy was a teenager, she tried to launch a pop singing career and released a song called Jailbait. Have you actually heard the song?
Unfortunately, yeah.
Yeah, and we're going to play it here, just a snippet. I don't have it for us in the recording, but we're going to play a little snippet for the audience.
Jailbait, I'm jailbait. You try to stay away, but you can't obey. Jailbait, I'm jailbait.
This is really horrible. Like,
It's
first
sad.
of all, where are her parents on this? Like, I have 2 daughters, and if one of them came to me and was like, I'm going to launch a pop song or a pop career with the song Jailbait, I'd be like, no, you're not. You're going to a convent. Like, this is already troublesome. But then you get to, she is a late teenager, like 18, 19 years old, and she meets Keith Olbermann, who is much, much older than her. We don't know when exactly they met, but he says
Well, they met when she was 18, I think.
Okay. But their relationship started when she was 19, according to Olbermann.
Yeah, he was very clear about that.
Yeah. But even
They
so,
love having that dividing line of consent.
Like, he's like significantly older than her.
He was in his early 50s at the time. Yeah. Really gross. And he keeps piping into the conversation, trying to insert himself, because Liza did talk about him in the first installment of the serial. But what should we call it? I feel like we need a name for it. The Substack saga.
Liza's blog. I think
Yeah.
we reduced it to the lowest form we can.
Yeah, I think I called it a blog in my piece because, where's the lie?
Yeah.
Yeah, in his first little blog, he talks about Olbermann, and he talks about how he like helped extricate Olivia from this bad relationship.
Yeah.
And she was 22 at the time. And somehow Olbermann took that as an invitation to take a victory lap.
Yeah.
I do not understand that at all. And I said to him, like, maybe you should sit this one out, bud. And he got really angry about that.
Yeah.
And he replied to me like, I'll let you be the arbiter of like who and who shouldn't be allowed to weigh in. And then 21 minutes later, he replied to me again.
Oh, Jesus.
And like, it was just gibberish. He was just like, it was basically, I know you are, but what am I? So he was stewing at like 1 a.m. I'm like, I don't know what your angle is here, man.
He like very clearly has an attachment to this old relationship. I don't like the fact that there are so many older men in this story. Like, she was 19, Olbermann comes around. She's 22. Liza comes around. Liza is like at the time was in his 40s. He's in his 50s now.
Mm-hmm.
I think he was 42 when they met, and it's like,
and they met around the time of his sexual misconduct allegation, which got him fired from the New Yorker.
They met a couple years before.
A couple years before?
Yeah.
So they were together when this allegation happened?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we still don't know the exact nature of it.
Well, we don't know when the allegation took place.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, there are pretty few details about what that actually was.
Yeah.
Besides him crying about it in the little blog.
Right. And then there was something about her running after David Remnick and yelling at him, the editor of the New Yorker, like her defending Liz's honor. I don't know.
He got fired from the New Yorker for this. Yeah. We talked about it a little bit in our last episode, but not our last episode about this, I should say, which was over a year ago. Yeah. Before we were even on YouTube when that episode came out.
There are a lot of scorned people involved in this situation. And so it kind of feels like they're like trying to, punch their way out of a bag or whatever. Is that a saying? Did I just make that up?
Well, I made the joke. I quoted the great late Heath Ledger saying, "What does this girl have? Beer-flavored nipples or something?" Which is a quote from 10 Things I Hate About You.
Yes.
I always worry that people like won't understand the reference, and I just look like a massive misogynist when I say that.
And she kind of looks like Julia Stiles a little bit.
Oh my God, you're not wrong.
Yeah.
I hadn't even made that connection.
Art imitating life.
I mean, Julia Stiles has a little bit of talent, at least.
She actually lives near me. I see her around sometimes. Yeah.
Oh my God.
Hey, girl.
Another thing I want to talk about is there was like a legal flare-up between Newsy and Liza, right? So Newsy applied for a restraining order against Liza, accusing him of like hacking her devices, of I think stalking, and there was never a hearing about this. Like the Newsy dropped it before the hearing happened. And Liza on his blog says, well, she did that because all of her lies would have come out. But I don't know that I actually believe that. And I was wondering if you had like thoughts on like how this all might have played out.
I am not inclined to believe either of them about anything really. So I think it's the kind of thing where like maybe he was doing some of what she was saying and she did have some legal grounds to say so. But then, no one's hands are clean here. So that's the problem when you start slinging accusations. Clearly, Liza had this entire arsenal of stuff to throw back at her.
Yeah.
And so he was probably threatening to share the stuff that he's sharing now back then. And that's probably what brought the legal proceedings to a halt. That's my best guess. I don't have any intimate knowledge of what happened, but clearly there's a lot of ammo, and like her going after him legally was a big step that she maybe wasn't fully ready to defend.
I kind of believe that he hacked her devices, actually, because if you read his blogs, it's like, oh, a note tumbled out of her bag. And, I just happened across this and like very specific, incriminating little piece of evidence that was in her suitcase or whatever. Like, and I'm like, okay, these are like really.
It's like a bad episode of Sex and the City. That's what he sounds like he's writing.
Yeah.
My God.
Sounds like one of his exes probably made him watch it, and now he thinks he's like Carrie Bradshawing this situation.
taking
God.
all the ideas. But this larger issue of journalists sitting on information, I hope that you could talk about that a little bit, because we talked about, kind of this moral rot, this kind of interplay with sources and journalists. But there's also been, especially during the Trump years, quite a few prominent journalists who have sat on information to curry favor, or at least not fall out of favor with the Trump White House.
Yeah, it's a huge problem. It's not a new one by any means. It's something that's been going on for years. And I think we've only just become more aware of it, maybe in the Trump years. There was, I think, Woodward published a book a few years ago, and everyone just sort of casually like, yeah, I found this out 2 years ago, but I didn't tell anyone about it until now because I'm selling a book now. And I guess maybe that, I don't know, maybe that was accepted at one point in time, or was just considered part of the game. But now, given the high stakes of everything that we learn, it seems really irresponsible and selfish to withhold any information. So it just seems like maybe a practice that is changing, that maybe is going to be frowned upon now in a way that it didn't used to be. And so I guess maybe that's why people thought they were allowed to, like they thought it was okay to just sit on it. But ultimately, it does create a crisis of trust in journalism and in other journalists, because you never know if you're getting the full story. Last year, the big story that Olivia Nuzzi published was about Joe Biden's declining mental acuity. And in light of the scandal and her closeness to RFK Jr. and her connections in Trump world, people were kind of re-examining, how accurate was that story? Or was it biased in some way? And it's like, at the end of the day, yes, the story was true, basically, that Joe Biden's mental acuity wasn't great at the time.
Yeah.
But she was coming at it from such a specific point of view, and the reader had no idea about that point of view. Like, we were not privy to her connections to the story. And so that undermines the trust that you could have in her work. And I honestly think would warrant an investigation into other pieces that she's written in the past about what possible entanglements she might have had.
Christine here. If you're enjoying this episode, consider subscribing. We publish every other week, so be sure to ring the bell to be notified for our next episode. Do you remember when, former Politico reporter Jake Sherman, who's now, I think it's Punchbowl News, he co-founded, he texted Mark Meadows on January 6th from the Capitol saying, help us, we're helpless. And Mark Meadows never replied. And he sat on that for a year. I think it came out only in the January 6th commission.
Yeah. So Jake and I went to the same college.
Oh, so did I. He was in my journalism classes.
Wait, you're a GW?
I am, yes.
Same.
Yeah.
Wait, did you guys go to school at the same time?
We must have. He was a year ahead of me.
Okay, yeah, and I'm his year.
Oh, yeah. So
Used to
right
be
behind.
blackberrying under the table for the Hatchet.
Oh my God, that's so funny.
Yeah.
Yeah, I wrote for the Hatchet when he was editor-in-chief there. So it feels very much like a two roads diverged situation.
Sure does.
I mean, he practices an entirely different brand of journalism that I am not really familiar with. The sort of Politico playbookification of politics and political journalism. And his outlet started this thing called Eye Out Day, or I don't know. It's like they interview politicians as they're about to leave town. I guess that's like a phrase that people use.
Yeah, because most of them fly out on Thursdays after the last votes.
Yeah,
something like that. So
it's so inside baseball, though.
It's disgusting.
And the first episode was House Speaker Mike Johnson. And they have, their thing is like having the Ring camera capture a picture of the person like coming up to the door because they have a townhouse for this publication. They apparently can afford a townhouse in DC.
Probably
and
on
Mike
Capitol
Johnson
Hill.
just looked like he was like a door-to-door Bible salesman.
I think he used to be one.
So yeah, but he just looked so weird. And then Jake had actually put up a picture of it, and then it was taken down a few minutes later. But I just happened to have like caught a screenshot of it, and they put up a new version where like Mike Johnson's people were like out of frame, and it didn't look like he was there, on like a DEA bus or something.
Christ.
But it's just like he's so Jake and that set of people. They're so. I don't know the better ways. In bed, in bed is taking a new meaning now with this scandal.
We got to be careful.
They're friends. I mean, I feel like they're like legitimately, maybe not friends, but friendly. They're on, they're
with people who left them to die on January 6th.
right.
I will never get over that, ever.
Well, we did a January 6th episode, I think last year, right around the time we did the Newsy episode last time with Meredith Schreiner.
Yeah, the great Meredith Schreiner.
Sorry.
No, but we talked about all of this. You know, what is the press corps' responsibility, and the complete abdication of responsibility by both Democrats and Republicans.
Yeah, there was very little protection, and it was clear that when push came to shove, and they're not looking out for the thejournalists who are in there every day trying to cover every little twist and turn of their drama that's playing out on Capitol Hill. Yeah, it's so you might think that these people are your friends, but they're not your friends.
Yeah. You know, Kate and I both used to be congressional reporters, so we know how hard the job is, but there is a whole different level of access journalism that they are practicing.
Yeah, and it's like, how do you get that access? You know, that is cultivated over a long time, and that is as a result of signaling a willingness to, I think, bend certain rules, cut certain corners, and look the other way when it's convenient for the people that you're covering or beneficial to you professionally.
Yeah, I was going to say, like, I've had access threatened as a reporter before.
Yeah.
When I was a congressional reporter, like, I worked for Rewire, and we were all about, like, pushing people, especially Republicans, on abortion rights. And eventually people just stopped taking my calls. Like, and that followed me when I went to Fox, where I was no longer covering that. And I was just a general politics reporter. Like, those same people would also not take my phone call. And it goes both ways too. Like, also when I was at Fox, I covered the 2020 Democratic primary. And I used to brag that every single one of the Democratic campaigns called to complain about my work at least once.
What was the best complaint?
I had Biden and Sanders, when they were a 2-person race, like towards the end of it, both call me within 10 minutes of each other about the same article, saying, you are unfair to my person, and you are too conciliatory to the other person. And I'm like, okay, first of all, you're both saying the same thing. Because I pointed out, like, Biden, you know, has a record of voting against, like, anti-gay stuff. Like, Bernie Sanders back in the day voted for some anti-gay stuff. And they're like, well, you know, Bernie Sanders was the first guy to do blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, yeah, I noted that in the piece, but he also did those other things. Like, it's my job to inform. And they were like, well, you know, we don't really want to talk to you anymore. Why don't you tell your editor to send a different reporter next time? And I'm like, sure. Okay. And now I'm an opinion reporter, and I wonder how that happened.
Yeah, it's a good point. It's like, how do you maintain access to information? Access journalism, we're talking about a kind of collegial relationship that breeds unethical situations. But at the same time, yeah, your job as a reporter is to get information. So skirting that line is really difficult. And so I think that that's what we're seeing kind of explode with the whole Newsy Liza thing, is that they had this access and were getting, or at least she was getting, this really sensitive information. She was really close to the story, and she was being rewarded for it at a certain point. But then it turns out she was doing it in a completely unethical way. And so it's like, we want that information, but at what cost?
Right. And also, like, she eventually was doing favors for somebody she became infatuated with, which is why the fucking ethical rules exist in the first place, not to get like personally involved with your sources or the subjects that you're writing about.
Yeah. She didn't seem to have a problem with that. And I don't know. I think it was like she sold the premise of her book as if she had this, it was a specific situation where she had this lapse because she was so in love and she was so overcome by her feelings. And then I think what the Liza posts are revealing is that it's more of a pattern of behavior, and that it wasn't just special to RFK Jr. And it undermines the entire premise of her book, or the way she's selling it, as if it was just like one indiscretion instead of a career of not playing by the rules. And I think that's the larger story that she didn't want to be told.
Do you want my hot take on this?
Yeah.
I think he's helping her sell books.
So I have a question about that,
Uh-huh.
which is, it has not been made clear to me. I think it's possible the book she's publishing now is in place of the book they were supposed to publish together, because they had to fulfill something. Otherwise, they would have had to give back the advance. And so I was wondering if that was the case. It's the same publisher and the same imprint. I checked that. And so maybe he is benefiting from the sales of her book, because if they got the deal together, it would stand to reason that he would at least get some of the proceeds.
Interesting.
Yeah, I don't know enough about like the legalities of the publishing industry to like be able to answer that question. I don't think.
Yeah, just because I think if he allowed her to write the book herself without him, there had to be strings attached to that.
Mm-hmm.
So it did feel, the timing was kind of weird. It was like she had that New York Times glossy profile come out, and then Liz's first part dropped a couple of days later. And it did feel, it wouldn't be unfair to say it felt coordinated. I'm not saying it was, but maybe they thought this would all play out a little bit differently. Like it would just create so much intrigue that everyone is just going to be so excited for this book. And I think it's actually doing the opposite. I think it's making people less interested in what the book has to say because it's being presented as bullshit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I guess we'll have to wait and see how it plays out.
Mhm.
But
Well, it's like, who's going to be the brave one to read it and report back to the rest of
Not me.
us?
one thing I'm happy with is the perception that these people are good writers has completely fallen apart. And now I'm even more convinced that nobody ever reads the work. They just read the headlines.
Or the screenshots that
Or the
go around.
screenshot. Yeah, which is really sad.
He really needed to hack away the bamboo from his prose.
Fucking bamboo.
The fact that there is no bamboo in part 3, I think is a sign that bullying works, at least a little bit. Like he was so committed to it, and you just know that he was going to weave that through the whole thing. And everyone was like, dude, you got to stop with the bamboo.
Mm-hmm.
It's just enough. It makes no sense.
I think the last line in the last piece was supposed to be like, and finally I got rid of the bamboo by like digging it up or whatever. Like he probably planned his last kicker.
Maybe Trump didn't get shot. I mean, what the fuck?
Well, I thought in my piece the title was the moral rot, and I thought that people were going to think that was a reference to like rotting bamboo and plant matter. But no one got there. And it was not intentional. That was not my intent.
So speaking of bamboo that won't go away, we were talking earlier about the thing where journalists sit on stories so that they can write a book, right? And like part of me is like, okay, well, journalism sucks right now. Like nobody's getting paid big bucks for journalism. So like I understand the instinct to want to try to sell books, but also by hiding information, you're like putting your hand on the scale of these big national matters, right? And we saw this especially with Michael Wolff, who I have been up his ass about this for years because it's not just this. He does this repeatedly with Trump. He's had details about Trump. You know, he's like a Trump biographer, I guess you could call him. And he hid details of the 2016 election. He hid details of the 2020 election just so he could get his books out. And all of a sudden he shows up in like the Epstein files. So I want to talk about like, what is your take on the industry that incentivizes these guys and women, obviously, who do it to have this access, gather this information, and then hide it until they can maximally make profit off of it?
I think it's a relic of maybe a bygone attitude towards journalism.
Mm-hmm.
And even just the idea of selling books and having to write a book about this stuff in order to be taken seriously or to have prestige. I feel like that's changing. Obviously, publishing a book is a huge deal and an enormous undertaking. But I don't think this idea of saving the best for your book is really respected in maybe the same way that it used to be. And listen, Michael Wolff he's old school. Like he's part of Trump's New York, that whole media environment from like the 80s and 90s. He's not playing by a modern playbook. And so maybe for him, he thinks at this point, he doesn't need to change tack because it's working out well for him. He's a podcaster for the Daily Beast. He is given a column to explain away all his misdeeds. So like he's going to be fine at the end of the day. But I don't think he's presenting a blueprint for what other journalists should be doing or something that will necessarily be successful. And I think we're kind of seeing that in the Newsy Liza thing. It's like they're like, I held all this information for years. Isn't that intriguing? And everyone's looking around and saying, no, that's unethical. That's hurting the country and that's hurting your credibility as a journalist.
Mhm.
And so there was an incentive structure for a long time, I think, like with the Bob Woodwards of the world and all these people who write all these, salacious insidery takes about different White Houses. But I think maybe the Trump White House has broken that because we're seeing the guts of it all the time. So to say like, oh, this revelation 2 years ago that something happened with Trump, it's like, okay, something equally as crazy happened yesterday. So the level of impact and the level of surprise is just different than what it used to be.
Yeah.
And I think everyone understands that like having scoops is currency right now. And there's no one's going to pat you on the back for sitting on a piece of vital information.
And listener, if you want to hear more about that Epstein email trove, Christina and I are actually doing a special YouTube exclusive video on that tomorrow on Friday. So look for that. It's going to drop around 5:00. And we're going to break down all of the connections between those emails and journalists behaving badly.
That's the name of an episode. Journalists behaving badly.
Ooh, I like it, actually.
Or a reality show.
Yeah.
I mean, speaking of scoops, like, you are the scoops queen, actually. I don't know how you do it. I'm insanely jealous.
Thank you.
But like you have like built yourself out as like the opposite of Michael Wolff as a journalist, right? Not to like transition it into like glazing your career here, but like I do think that you present a model of journalism that is different from these access people. Although clearly you like have access because you're able to get these scoops, which then get stolen by the bigger papers without accreditation a lot of the times.
Literally happened today.
So like, what are your thoughts on that sort of push-pull between access and...
I think it depends what kind of access you're looking for. Something that I learned early on in this second Trump administration is that there's a lot of focus, I think, on Beltway congressional reporters and having access to the people at the top of the food chain. So the members of Congress or their chiefs of staff or the heads of certain agencies, people who are senior staffers. And what I've come to learn, and what has informed almost all of my scoops, is people who are somewhere in the middle or even lower on the food chain who have a real understanding of what goes on at these different agencies or within the federal government, but aren't necessarily making the rules for their agencies or aren't the face and the voice of the work that they're doing. Yeah, I guess I practice access journalism, but I'm accessing the right people. I'm accessing people who are not looking for fame in return. The people I speak to are mostly anonymous and they're just people who want these stories to get out. They're not looking for, it's not a transactional relationship. It's literally just me helping them share a story that otherwise may not be told. And so, I've said time and again, like my sources' safety is paramount. There have been situations where I've had scoops before other people, and I sat on them because my source wasn't comfortable with it, or I felt like I didn't have enough backup on it, or I don't have hard and fast rules about like one source versus two sources like some newsrooms do, but it's just a matter of, do I trust this one source enough to rely on them, or do I need a secondary source to back it up? And so that's all, a leap of faith on my part, but I think I've gotten good at reading people and knowing who has legitimate information and who doesn't. And if a source doesn't feel comfortable and doesn't feel like it's time for a story to go out, that's it. That's game over for me. I'm not looking to gain anything from a story that someone who told me a story in good faith doesn't want to actually be told. And I think other reporters might handle that differently, but that's just been a hard and fast rule for me.
Where can our listeners find you?
Your listeners can find me at thehandbasket.co. And if you want to chit chat, I'm on Blue Sky too much.
That's why we like you.
Yeah.
Just running my mouth all hours. And Marisa Kabas, just my name at Blue Sky, and say hi.
Well, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.
Thank
It's
you.
a real pleasure. So, Christine, are you ready for my favorite segment?
Yes, my favorite too.
Out of context cancellations.
There's always something to be canceling.
First, we are canceling the AI Charlie Kirk song.
I don't know what that is, and I don't want to know what that is.
Well, today you're in luck because I'm going to play it for you.
No.
Okay.
Okay.
I cut to the best part, so we don't have to do all of it. Ready?
Okay.
He lived for Jesus, unafraid to die.
His courage our own.
Okay. I thought this was supposed to be...
Together unbroken, will make heaven known.
So I thought this was supposed to be out of context cancellations because
No, we are
I
putting it in context, baby.
never want to hear that again.
So this has gone omega viral on TikTok, apparently.
Oh, Jesus.
Yeah, literally. And so people are remixing it, and I have one more I want to play for you.
Okay.
Ready?
I thought you were going to have it remixed to Wet Ass Pussy since since Charlie Kirk and Candace Owens, apparently, like, that's their shared favorite song. We're not going there?
No, but I love this so much.
Someone do it, please.
People have turned this into a meme and it's fantastic. And this song, I've been sick for the last week. This song has been stuck in my head the entire time. So I'm like waddling into the kitchen to get my little cup of chamomile tea to soothe my throat. And in my head, it's going, "We are Charlie Kirk."
I think we should go on to the next out of context cancellation, but I'm afraid.
Next, we're canceling the University of Oklahoma.
Fucking cancel them.
I actually wrote about that today on my newsletter.
Oh, so we'll have some context for that.
Yes, we will include it in the show notes, but we will leave it mysterious for now.
Ooh, okay.
We're canceling winter itchiness, Christine.
Oh, yeah. The dry air and it's cold outside.
We took a little break in between our interview and now recording. And I just like slathered my arms in moisturizer because it was all getting dry and stuff. Next, we are canceling Netflix shows that say they're going to drop one particular day, but they only drop part of the season.
Ooh. You
and
gotta
this
drop all
person
that.
puts in parentheses, "Yes, I'm mad about Stranger Things."
Gotta drop all of that. Why does everything have to be 2 parts?
Yeah, I don't get it.
Yeah.
Cancel people trying to pull you into their drama.
That sounds like something to
I
cancel.
feel like that's the episode we just did.
Oh, God. Yeah, they're all pulling us into their drama. All 3, RFK, Newsy, and Liza.
Next, we're canceling housing that depends on the good graces of bigots.
Yes, cancel that.
And lastly, I think let's cancel capitalism again.
I think that is always something that we can cancel here on Cancel Me Daddy.
It's almost a bi-weekly event that we cancel capitalism on here.
If you'd like to submit your own out-of-context cancellations, log into the Cancel Me Daddy Discord and submit there. We also love chatting with you.
You can get Discord access by becoming a member of our Patreon. Find that at patreon.com/cancelmedaddy. Thank you all so much for listening. We'll be back again in a couple of weeks with a return of Eleanor Yanega. We're going back into history's cancellations. So if you're watching on YouTube, be sure to like this video and hit the subscribe button so you don't miss that. Cancel Me Daddy is a Flytrap media production, and today's show was made by me, Caitlin Burns, and my incredible co-host, Christine Grimaldi.
T. Peterschmidt made our theme song, and Romy Tirico designed our graphics. Ads by Multitude Productions.
Our show is made possible by the incredible cancelers supporting our work, especially the members of our Canceler Hall of Fame, with the great power to cancel all of their enemies. Meg.
We appreciate your support.
Happy canceling!